Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So I came on real quick to wish you guys a happy Labor Day. I hope you are enjoying yourself, taking the time out for some needed self-care. Now, what I wanted to point out is this: Labor Day is a pivotal day in the real estate market. First off, there's normally not too many open houses on this particular day because most people either go out of town or they're just out on the town enjoying their own city. What happens the day after Labor Day is normally, not always, but normally home prices will start to fall. And then it turns into a buyer's market. Okay. To a certain degree, right now, you might say it is a buyer's market because a lot of people are already fearful because the interest rates are higher than what they used to be some years back, right? But now the buyer's market is going to be even smaller, and not just buyers, renters as well. This is what typically happens. Why? Because there's less competition. You see, people who have children normally like to look, find, and move into a place before school starts. Well, in many markets, school has already started. And then in other markets, school will either start the day after Labor Day or the week after Labor Day, right? So if you're single, if you're a married couple with no kids, or if you're a senior, or just an empty nester looking for a new place, well, typically you'll have a much easier time, and you may also be able to bargain down some prices as well. Because one thing I notice is that a lot of people that I speak to, they think that the price that's listed is the price that they have to pay. There is something called negotiation. You can negotiate the price. Okay? Now, for those of you who are landlords, or those of you who are just simply homeowners who are selling your home, you need to know that the largest group that's buying right now, the majority of people looking, are millennials. Baby boomers, not so much. Generation X, yeah, they're still out there looking for homes, but the majority right now in today's market is millennials. And they want a place that has good Wi-Fi. That is at the top of the list. Okay. Now, if you're a homeowner selling your home, of course, you don't necessarily need to provide the Wi-Fi, but that will narrow down where they're actually going to look, because believe it or not, there are still places in America where Wi-Fi is trash, particularly any area near the mountains or in the mountains, most mountains that is, they don't have good Wi-Fi. And then some areas that may have good Wi-Fi, there are certain telephone carriers that may not work in that particular area. So millennials will be looking at things like that. But that is like the most important thing to them, right? Now, another thing is most of them are not really looking at rural areas. Most of them, the number one area people are looking at are suburbs. Why? Because most people nowadays are going to be working from home. There are still some companies, like there's some companies that all of a sudden switched up and they were like, oh, you have to come into work physically. right? Sometimes the city's mayors made the companies do that. But then you have other companies where that's not the case. And then you also have a large number of people who became entrepreneurs and decided they're quitting their jobs and they work for themselves. And they have set up their life so that they work from home and they don't have to depend on, going to specific places to work. So that's another reason why Wi-Fi is important. But yes, the first primary place that they're looking for are suburbs, particularly suburbs that are near cities. And then the other places that are growing would be what you call second-tier cities. So let me give you an example. Philadelphia would be considered a first-tier city in some ways, and then Pittsburgh would be second-tier, right? Because it's a big city with great transportation, but the jobs, the physical jobs, is just not there in Pittsburgh. So it's really ideal for people who want to start their own company, right? Another example, I guess you could say, is New York is first tier, right? But Newark, New Jersey would be second tier because it's a city that's not too far from New York. It's sort of like a sister in a certain way. Or even Albany would be considered second tier, even though it is the capital of New York. New York City is way bigger, okay, and way more, the infrastructure is way more vast. So those are the trends that are going on right now. And believe it or not too many people, particularly when it comes to renting, parking spots used to be a big deal. Not anymore. We have Uber, we have Lyft, we have Movin. I think that's how you pronounce it, Moovn. And then, different cities have their own, special online taxi services and what have you. And then you also have buses, and some places have trains. So people are looking more at that. They're looking more for at places that have transportation or even alternate transportation, not so much cars. A lot of millennials, a large number of them, are looking at walkable cities. So I just wanted to share that real quick to help those of you who are looking for a home or who are selling a home, and also for those of you who are renting. Now, when it comes to affordability, that is still an issue that many big cities are struggling with, because New York City lost 200,000 Black families last year. So the city is thinking of ways of what they can do to change that. And I did speak briefly with one of my reps, and she was mentioning that the government may build some co-ops going forward. I mentioned in another video, we have here in New York, we have something called Mitchellama co-ops, where you can buy a co-op from the government. The government sponsors it, gives you a subsidy. Well, no, not so much a subsidy, it kind of comes subsidized already. And you can purchase that. And it would really be aimed more towards people who actually work in the city. So it would not be for, let's say, someone who's on Section 8 or what have you. They probably wouldn't deny them, but the primary purpose of most Michelama co-ops is to keep the people who work in New York in New York. So, for example, let's say someone who drives the garbage truck, somebody who works for the post office, because their salaries are not that high, a lot of times they end up They end up living in another state and then coming to New York. And then sometimes they live in another state and don't come back to New York to work, right? But we need them. So that's what they're thinking about doing. Now, New York is running out of space to build. There are a few places. I do still see some construction going on. But here's what is going to be not so new, but here's what one thing that is going to happen, and that is more churches will probably be asked if they can sell their air rights. And I know that many of them will be okay with that because some of them don't have enough church members to keep the church going. You know, some of these churches don't have the mortgages paid off, you know, and they're struggling. So they could sell their air rights and have condos or co-ops built on top. Some already have done this, but they've done it with private companies. Let's see if the government will go ahead and do that with the church. Who knows? You know, there is something about separate church from state, but desperate times, desperate measures, because most of these churches, honestly, they have the luxury ones. They don't have the affordable ones, and that's what the government is looking to do. Because even the government workers, even the people who work for the government themselves, the secretaries and stuff, many of them can't afford to live in New York. Many of them commute to work. And some of them actually also work from home. I know, like, I have a property in Rockford, Illinois, and forget about it. Like, most of those people over there, they work from home. Like, whole government offices work from home. And the only way I can get to them, even calling them on the phone is not enough. I have to send them an email in order to get my questions answered. So, yeah, there you have it. So that's what's going on. That's what's happening. That's the latest trend. Please feel free to share this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.